Unions are organizations of workers in a particular industry who work together to improve working conditions. They would group together when they felt the pay wasn't good enough or they had dangerous working conditions. Workers faced a rigid schedule. They worked 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Many suffered accidents from machines and they breathed in air filled with lint, which damaged their lungs. When a worker became sick or injured, no workers' compensation was granted to them. Friedrich Engels, a German philosopher, described the living areas for workers as the houses are closely packed together and have been blackened by soot and all broken window frames. In such a hole barely 6 feet long and 5 feet wide, I saw 2 beds. Working, living, and sleeping all took place in the same room. This quote gives us an idea of the everyday living conditions of these workers and how little they were paid, so they had to live in such little houses just to survive. Labor unions worked together as a team to spread power more evenly and widen the opportunities of their fellow workers. However, labor unions were illegal for many years. Employers saw unions as conspiracies to the company that used threats to get what they want, and for a while the courts saw it the same way. So workers found starting or being part of a union would be punished for their actions. Unions had a couple different ways of achieving their goals. Collective bargaining was a negotiation process between managers and unions to settle on many different issues. Managers were obligated to negotiate with fairness, and if both sides could not agree, it would result in the union workers going on strike, which is another way for unions to get what they want. There are 2 types of strikes. Defensive strikes are made in protest of wage cuts, losses of benefits, and reduction in work hours, for example, the Homestead strike. Offensive strikes are called to help improve union members' conditions, such as wages and work hours. Strikes could result in the people involved being fired, or the company cannot reach an agreement due to the loss in productivity. Unions made a lot of progress and had a lot of successes. The United Mine Workers of America, founded in 1890, worked toward ending discrimination of race and religion in the workplace. The 8-hour day was implemented for miners in 1898. They were given fair pay and were able to negotiate with their wages with their employers. Workers were paid enough to pay for rent and buy food. Working class men were given the right to vote in 1867, which gave them an opportunity to elect somebody that can support the working class. Many regulations for child labor were put in place to make sure they were still getting an education and didn't start too young. The New England Association of Farmers, Mechanics, and Other Working Men resolved that children should not be allowed to labor in the factories from morning till night without any time for healthy recreation or mental culture, for it endangers their well-being and health, which is an example of a specific union making a change in child labor regulations.